Howdy y'all, I'm Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and welcome to my long-awaited review of James Gunn's Superman. That is right, we are finally here. We can finally talk about it. I have seen the movie, and I'm going to give you my, what I believe is, right down the middle take on this bad movie. I said it right there. This movie is a bad movie. It's not the worst movie in the world. It's not the complete and total dog shit I thought it was going to be, but it's not a good movie. And I'm going to take some time right now to explain to you why. But before we do that, let me just get a couple other things out of the way. One, it is not woke. It's not a woke movie. That simple. We have reached a point in time again where I can simply call a movie a bad movie and not complain about the agenda. Hey, that is progress. It's fun, but we're still going to complain about this movie being bad. One, I'm not going to get too nerdy in this review today because I'm saving that for panel discussions for the rest of the weekend. I don't want to bog you guys down with nerd stuff. I have plenty I can complain about in this movie that has to do with how it was made, how it was presented, how it was written, how it was acted. I can talk about that without getting into the super nerdy details. Will I get into some nerd details? Of course I will. I'm a nerd. But I'm not going to weigh you guys down with that. Same time also, just a reminder, I'm not a Snyder bro. I don't like the Snyderverse. So if you're going to come in here saying, oh my God, a Snyder bro hates this movie, not a Snyder fan. So you can walk away with that little take right now. I'm going to tell you now why in 3 to 4, maybe 5 reasons why I don't like this movie. We're going to talk about the story real quickly. I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow detail, but I'm going to break it down overall, broad strokes, and how I thought it is silly in certain places. Then we're going to talk about the characters, the actors portraying these characters, the writing, the direction, and what I'm going to say now, the non-existent soundtrack. Altogether, it is a movie that I am now going to be calling in medias res the movie. What does in medias res mean? For those who are not aware, that means a story that starts in the middle of the action, and you have to catch up to where it is. The problem is, they never actually catch you up. This movie starts in the middle and just keeps going and adding more things, eventually becoming a shallow, uninspiring, very, at times, boring movie overall. Let's get into it then. Let's start with the overall story of James Gunn's Superman. A few moments ago, I said that James Gunn's Superman is essentially in medias res the movie. And that's because it drops you into a living, breathing world that has existed for many years without so much as a starter pack, without any sort of real information to go on except what James Gunn thinks you need to know as opposed to what you actually need to know. This movie lacks any connective tissue to bond you to these characters. It's all superficial, all shallow. All look at this flying here, look at this CGI dog there, look at this man crying about him wanting to save everybody. That's essentially it. And what is this movie really about? It's about two things. One, the plot is essentially Lex Luthor hatching a plan to use two fictional countries at war with each other in order to get the American government to sanction him to kill Superman. That's it. Everything else is just superficial crap piled on top of it. At the same time, it's Clark Kent, Superman's struggle with accepting the fact that he's an alien on a human world, but he's also human, but he has to save lives. And in the end, having to choose between living up to what he thought he had to be and to what he actually has to be. And what do I mean by that? At the core of the movie is a butchered lore. A butchered lore that James Gunn chose to go with instead of the traditional standard lore. What am I talking about? At a certain point in the movie, Lex has broken into the Fortress of Solitude. You've seen the clip where he captures Crypto, destroys all the robots temporarily, and then uses the engineer, who is a character filled with nanites, to break into and download the data on Superman's computers in the Fortress of Solitude. And what we get there is a particular recording that supposedly has brought solace to Superman of Jor-El telling him, "We sent you to this planet to protect it." Problem is, only half the transmission have been decoded and translated. The other half, we quickly learn, and Lex uses as part of his massive smear campaign against Superman, is that Jor-El sent Superman to this planet with a bunch of weak-willed, stupid mammals who are easily manipulated and easily ruled over, and he can mate with them and create a whole new breed of Kryptonians to rule the world and conquer it. Yes. So James Gunn chose a version of Jor-El that appealed to him rather than a version of Jor-El that makes sense in traditional Superman lore. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of Superman being the last son of Krypton, here to protect, hold up the ideals of Krypton, and the good ideals of Krypton, and be a savior and protector to all. So that makes Clark have to struggle with, what am I then? I always thought I was sent here to protect, and now I find out I was sent here to rule and dominate and control and F a lot of women and make babies. That's what I was sent here to do. I don't know who I am anymore until Pa Kent tells him, Jonathan Kent says, "Son, you are who you always have been. Good, honest man trying to do the right thing every day." And that's Clark's struggle, to get up every day and make mistakes and keep striving. And while that's a commendable thing, it's not exactly inspiring Superman speech I'm looking for in a movie. A crybaby who constantly screams, "I'm here to save and help people," as opposed to, "I'm here to protect the world. I'm here to protect the world, protect everything, protect truth, justice, and the American way," which is never uttered in this movie. It all boils down to the fact that their ideals conflict because Lex Luthor is jealous that the world loves Superman and hates him, or doesn't acknowledge him for the genius that he is. And that's the subplot of Lex's motivations. He wants acknowledgement of his genius. He wants acknowledgement that his brain is better than Superman's brawn because he engineered Ultraman, a clone of Superman, who he controls with every little word that he says in order to fight Superman and kick his ass, using many cameras to dictate the action and this and that, because he scanned every fight Superman's had so that he understands all his moves. It's almost as if they did that in Captain America Civil War, where Iron Man scanned Cap's moves and was able to fight him then automatically. James Gunn isn't original at all. Anyway, on top of that, you have the plot of trying to figure out what Lex is doing. Problem is, Superman isn't a part of that plot. That's everybody else. Lois, the Justice Gang, consisting of Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Dora the Hawk Girl, and eventually Metamorpho, who's merely a plot device to give Superman something to do while he's imprisoned. Superman turns himself in after Lex releases all this information to the world, so he can find the dog that has been kidnapped. That's why he doesn't do it to find out what Lex is up to. He does it to find the dog. And here in this moment, as I mentioned it, Lex's social media smear campaign, super shit, it's all real. The monkeys typing in the alternate dimension, it's all real. Because Lex created a pocket dimension with a black hole in it where he keeps political prisoners for other countries and his ex-girlfriends who did him wrong. Yes, and that's kind of the whole story. Superman gets beat up a lot. He gets insulted a lot, demeaned, has the whole world turn on him on a dime, and then doesn't actually save anybody aside from a squirrel, a middle-aged Asian woman, and a little girl. I'm sorry. He does stop a building from collapsing on a woman in a car. But that's kind of it. He'll block a big beastie from hitting the building, but then stand there as it breathes fire on it as well. This is an incompetent Superman who whines and complains and doesn't actually save everything. The actual saving is done by Mr. Terrific, who figures out the whole plot of the movie of what Lex is doing scientifically, and is the one who eventually uses the code to stop the rift. Eventually, Guy Gardner, Dora the Hawk Girl, and Metamorpho are the one that stopped the war again. And that's also the other overlying plot of this, that Lex uses the idea that Superman asserted his authority on sovereign nations rather than talking to them. But that's a discussion about how Superman behaves in another segment of this video or panels later on. Point is, this whole movie is a narrative mess. I just talk to you about all these different things. All these things are happening at the same time in many different directions with no cohesive narrative. It's not a story about Superman wanting to save the day. It's a story about Superman wondering about where his place in the world is. And then after a little pep talk, figures it out, sort of. And Lex Luthor being a whiny crybaby, and Lois Lane wondering if she should be in love with Clark, and Mr. Terrific just being competent, and Guy Gardner being a dick, and Hawkgirl having zero personality whatsoever, and Metamorpho being a plot device. And everything else just kind of happening. And Crypto the dog being obnoxious and annoying, and being used as a get-out-of-jail-free card to have Clark win the fight against Ultraman in the third act. Because without Crypto, Clark can't win. He needs Crypto to kill the cameras that are allowing Lex to control Ultraman. And then at the very end of the movie, after everybody's all said and done and this and that, I'm sorry. Lex goes to jail because thanks to Eve Tessmacher taking tons of piss selfies and showing off all his plans in the background of her selfies, and her being a booty call for, guess, Don Juan, Jimmy Olsen, Lois is able to put together a story that reveals it all. So Clark doesn't actually do anything. Superman doesn't actually do anything to save anything. He's just there to be muscle. He's there to be muscle and a distraction while everybody else saves the day. And at the very end, you've got Supergirl arrives to pick up her dog. Crypto's her dog. And we learn that Kara, she's a party girl. She's not aspiring to be a great hero like her cousin. Her goal is to go to Red Sun planets where she can get drunk and party. And when she comes back after having her cousin babysit her dog, she says, "Thank you, bitch. See you later." That's right. She calls him bitch. James Gunn. And we'll talk more about James Gunn in his writing director segment of his videos. That's essentially the movie in a nutshell. I'm apologizing if it was broad strokes, but we don't want to keep you guys here for too long. Let's move on to talk about the characters and the actors that portrayed them. The characters, their portrayals, and the actors who were hired to play them. Let me make this clear. I am well aware that an actor or performance is only as good as the writing they have to work with. And in this case, the writing isn't good. We'll get to that in the next segment. David Corenswet's Superman. I found his performance to be quite lacking. I found him to be very one-note, to be very boring and shallow. His whole quest to be the best human possible by the end of the movie, it's uninspiring. It's very basic. It's not Superman. It's supposed to come off as Superman telling the world, "I'm just like the rest of you." No, you're not. Your values are like the rest of us, but you are Superman. You are something everybody should aspire to be in every way, shape, or form. You're not supposed to be like everybody else. That's the core problem of James Gunn not understanding Superman. That, and he literally is beat up all the time. He only wins a fight at the very end, and he wins because of Crypto. And as I said, David Corenswet, there's nothing spectacular about his performance. There's no gravitas to it. He is one note in everything he does in this movie. Yell and scream. Yell and scream and melt down. That's it. Or, "I'm sad." That's the range that he shows in this movie. So I'm not a fan of David Corenswet in this role. Rachel Brosnahan, how do you say her name? She's one of the couple things I liked in this movie. Her Lois Lane is good. Her Lois Lane is on point. It's how Lois is. Hard-nosed reporter, very blunt, not really good in relationships. And also she's hot. That helps. Attractive woman playing an attractive character. And she's good at her job. She's good at her job. She's able to put all the pieces together about what's going on with Lex's plan. And while it would have been nice if Clark had been involved in that, it's good that Lois had a role like that in this movie. Now, towards the end, she's kind of flying around in Mr. Terrific's ship while dictating the story to Jimmy and Perry, and why Cat Grant and other dudes were in that, I don't know. But Lois is fine. I have no problem with Rachel Brosnahan's Lois. In fact, she next to Mr. Terrific, she's the standout. We'll get to Mr. Terrific in a moment. Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor. I am going to go against what everybody else is saying. It's a common thing being said right now. Everybody liked his Lex Luthor. I found Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor very dull. I see him as his performance is a childish, shouting baby. Constantly. Nicholas Hoult, his portrayal, his tone, his lack of gravitas, he doesn't hold down any scene. And in fact, the portrayal of Lex Luthor as just, I'm evil man, I shoot man in head, oh, I'm gonna kill the world because they like Superman and don't like me. It's one note. Lex Luthor is a complex character, a super genius who has a plan on top of a plan on top of a plan. Yes, it's all motivated by his hate for Superman, true. But in this movie, it's one note and it's boring, and Nicholas Hoult delivers nothing except kind of either a calm rage or a shouty tantrum rage. That's it. None of it is gravitas. None of it is threatening. I'm not threatened by his Lex Luthor. In fact, at the very end of the movie, when he's in the middle of doing a very stand up, I'm angry at you, Lex Luthor, shouting at Clark Kent, Superman, it gets interrupted as Krypto blasts him in the face and knocks him over mid-sentence. That's a discussion about how James Gunn can't take any scene seriously. But either way, they don't actually have a powerful Lex Luthor. It's an emotional tantrum Lex Luthor. I want the world to love me, not you. That's it. That's all I heard. Shouting baby. Everybody else, the Justice Gang, Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, nothing wrong with that. Nathan Fillion plays Guy Gardner, who's a dick, and that's fine. I have no problem with that, although I do have nerd problems with how they use the power ring, but that's a discussion for nerd bullshit later. Dora the Explorer Hawkgirl, she's the non-entity in this movie. Tiny little thing, screeches when she flies around. What the hell is even that? And you don't even know which Hawkgirl this is. Is it Reincarnation Hawkgirl? Or is it Shara Hall Thanagarian Hawkgirl? You don't know. You have no idea. Nothing. James Gunn doesn't bother to give her anything to work with at all. Metamorpho. You get Metamorpho, I said, as a plot device. Lex Luthor is holding his demon baby son hostage so that he can be used to make kryptonite and this and that. That's it. And then he gets freed and decides to help out. What-ah. No real backstory otherwise. The standout, though, is Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific, and I apologize, I forget the actor's name. Mr. Terrific's great. He's competent. He's got a good, dry sense of humor. And he wants to do the job. He's not there to F around. And he gets the job done. I liked Mr. Terrific. I enjoyed him. That's about the only thing I enjoyed in this movie. Mr. Terrific. Everybody else kind of pales in comparison. It's more of a Mr. Terrific solving a problem than Superman doing anything. I mean, that Mr. Terrific is the one that figures out how to stop everything and save the day. I can get the code. I can stop it. Superman, you just go fight people. It's very uninspiring to have Mr. Terrific be bigger than Superman, even though he was portrayed well. Everybody else in the movie, who cares? They're there and they're gone. Jimmy Olsen is a playboy, and he gets, I'm going to save my Jimmy Olsen discussion for panels and how he treats Eve Tessmacher. They play it off as comedy, but it's actually really sad and disgusting what he eventually ends up doing. I'll say it right here. Eve is abused by Lex, and Jimmy uses that to his advantage for a source. And at the very end, when we see that Eve is just somebody looking for love, even though she's a moron to the extreme, she just wants to be loved. She sees that, she thinks that Jimmy's that love, but he doesn't love her, but he's willing to now go into a loveless relationship with her, even though she deserves better than Jimmy Olsen. All right, so those are the characters, the portrayals. As I said, that's what they are. I found most of the performances flat. Only Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnan's Lois Lane, and Mr. Terrific were the only ones that stood out as good to me. That's it. All right, let's talk about James Gunn's writing and directing and production value, shall we? James Gunn does not understand Superman. It's that simple. He has an idea of what he wanted to do, And what he wanted to do was write a Justice Gang movie. That's what he wanted to do. There was more heart in everything the Justice Gang does with their limited time on screen, except for Mr. Terrific, than there is in what Superman does. The writing itself, the dialogue, is very pedestrian. It's modern day. People talking like they do, they're walking in the streets. There's no cinematic feel to this. And at the same time, this is a massive James Gunn movie. Bad humor, unnecessary humor left and right, and James Gunn can do emotional things. We've seen that in Guardians of the Galaxy. But in this movie, every time he sets up a serious and emotional beat, it's overrun with his need to have some slapsticky, quippy, over-the-top, whimsical shit going on around it. And I'll give you the two best examples, two and a half best examples in this movie. The first one is, we all saw the promotional material, the first thing with the dimensional eye while Clark is putting on his boots or getting undressed in his apartment. That happens in the movie, except he has nothing to do with it. In that scene, Lois is there to comfort him about the whole Jor-El reveal, and he's upset about Krypto being missing, and they have a really serious conversation about relationships and what he's going to do and who he is. Meanwhile, in the background, you see this blippy-flippy fight with the Justice Gang of the Dimensional Eye. You're busy watching that. You can't pay attention to the words going on the screen. It's a horrible scene. And then even worse, James Gunn copies himself. At one point, Mr. Terrific and Lois go to this camp where Lex has all his people there, getting ready to kill Superman at one point. It's the staging area for going back and forth between his portal hopping. There's a fight there, and I got this wrong. I said a long time ago that wasn't Lois. It turned out it was Lois. So he puts up a shield around Lois while Lex's Planet Patrol are fighting him. And it's another James Gunn thing which he does in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He has a hip-hop or kind of funky tune song playing while the camera rotates around Lois at the center, and you see Mr. Terrific fighting off everybody in a very comic booky fashion, which is not a problem. It's just the way James Gunn shot it. It's another James Gunn thing. I can't take the fight seriously to music and Lois cowering and watching everything going on through a force field. I can't get into the fight. I'm too busy distracted by all the James Gunn shit going on. And then the other half James Gunn shit is after Superman saves Metamorpho's demon baby, he's holding the baby above a particle stream while fending off Planet Patrol troopers and trying to convince Krypto to take the baby, but Krypto just keeps licking the baby. And then they almost get sucked into the black hole, and you get a little slow-mo thing, and Superman saves them by just shooting super breath to push them away. It's James Gunn action direction that's all over the place, and too much comedy inserted in this. There's no stakes, there's no gravitas, because no one's going to get hurt. Nothing's bad is going to happen. Even the robots, who all get annihilated when Lex attacks the Fortress of Solitude, they're all fixed and repaired by the end of the movie. This is a movie with zero stakes in it. There's no, oh my God, somebody died. Oh, somebody does die when Lex shoots him in the head, but he's a rando. A complete rando that you have no attachment to. This movie is honestly boring most of the time. In between these things I talked to you about, it's just, hi, we're talking in this scene. Hi, we're talking in that scene. Hi, we're pretending there's relationships when we have no actual evidence of these relationships. We just have people saying we're friends, we're lovers, we're together. Oh, we're saying this, we're saying that. It's a lot of say, no tell. Talk, no tell. It's a lot of talk, no show, is what it is. James Gunn doesn't understand show, don't tell. He doesn't. And this movie is a perfect example of that. And as I said, the writing is boring, it's bland, it's pedestrian, it's very modern day, and it's not exciting. Plain and simple. And of course, I mentioned it way beginning of the video, the score. It's non-existent. People are kvelling all over the place. Oh my God, this track is speaking to me. The soundtrack in this movie is nothing. There's nothing to it. It's not memorable. The only time you recognize anything is when they're butchering John Williams' original Superman theme. Other than that, I dare you to tell me to hum a track without downloading it and listening to it 10 or 15 times. There's nothing catchy from this movie. It's not inspiring. Nothing about the soundtrack inspires anything because it's forgettable. All right, closing thoughts. Let's go.
Here endeth the lesson.
James Gunn's Superman is a shallow, boring, uninspiring movie that is literally in medias res for 2 hours. It wants to distract you with a lot of high-minded moral standing about, I'm here to save people. Oh, I want to be a human. Oh, you can still be a human and still be a great person, and all that kind of crap. It wants to distract you. It wants to distract you with heavily CGI'd fights. It wants to distract you with a very light relationship story between Lois and Clark. But it doesn't actually have any depth to it. It doesn't actually inspire you as a Superman movie should. And it doesn't take being Superman seriously. And I'm not saying Superman has to be dour, sour, Mr. Boy Scout, no humor. I'm saying let's have a real story about Superman dealing with something. Let's have a real story about Superman saving the world. The bottom line is, Superman doesn't save the world in this. Other people do. He's just along for the ride. In addition to that, you have a cast of characters and people playing them who I frankly found mostly miscast. I found none of their performances remotely gravitas related or inspiring. It's as though they were just hired because they're it people in some ways. I will say again that Rachel Brosnahan's, whatever how you say her name is, her Lois Lane was good. Mr. Terrific was great. Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor was uninspiring and a crybaby child. And David Cornswallet's Superman is just there to be a moral high ground, to stand on a soapbox and preach at you without actually accomplishing anything. The writing is bad. The directing is bad. James Gunn gave you what he wanted, not what fans wanted. And if people like this, sure, good for you. But I'm going to ask you this question now. Why do you like it? Can you give me a detailed description of what you like besides just saying, it was a comic book come to life. It was a comic book movie done right. Can you say anything besides that? I challenge you to. I wonder if you can actually answer me in the way I have presented the case of why I find this movie to be flawed on many levels. In the end, this does not bode well for the DCU. I think it's off to the worst start possible. This movie is being received as mid across the board. Those who love it really love it, and everybody else finds it mid to crap. I find it to be crap, and I hope you agree with me. If you do, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more reviews and streams, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you again for watching. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.